Nancy, we're going around the world in 85 days.
You want to come?
Get out of here. You're going around the world in 85 days.
Yes, not
Well,
80, but
It takes
85.
me 85 it takes me 85 days to plan to go to the coast.
That's hilarious.
well, well, you've been around the world, haven't you?
Yes, in a sailboat. That's how I like to travel.
That's slow travel.
Real
So,
slow.
how
Real
many months
slow.
were you on that boat on your slow around the world tour?
4 years.
Oh my God.
Wow.
So, what would you
But we
say?
didn't go around the world. We're so slow, we only went halfway around the world.
So, what was really your favorite memory of your halfway around the world in 4-year tour?
Um, Guatemala.
Huh, why?
There is this place in Guatemala called the Rio Dulce, and it's on the east coast of the country. And you come in off the ocean and you go up this river, and it's like sailing through the Grand Canyon. Only there are toucans and cockatoos and monkeys and I mean, just everything that you see in a zoo, only there they are. They
Yeah.
actually do exist outside of a zoo.
Wow. We've
And it's
never,
it's
yeah, we've
Wow.
never
stunningly
been to
beautiful.
Guatemala.
Yeah.
Oh, I love Guatemala.
But Rich is
It,
not big on monkeys, so probably you lost him at the monkeys.
Exactly. And this happened in Bali in our first visit in 20, I don't know, 15, 13, I
Yeah.
think. And I was literally attacked by a band of maybe 5 monkeys.
oh, I remember that.
Yes. And so when you just said the word monkey, the hair on my arms just like went up. And it wasn't because it's chilly where we are up in like at the, what is this? Like almost 4,000 foot elevation.
Right. In fact, let's pivot and show you where we are right now, not that one, Paul.
Oh, Paul.
I like that. That's
Boy,
a great picture.
I know
yeah.
that's coming.
That-
So this is the hotel where we are. I try to do this. I try to do this right.
Oh, I love it.
Um,
yeah.
so yeah, we were here last year and we liked it so much we came back, and partly because across the street, that's our view.
Yeah. This,
Oh, wow.
yeah.
So
I,
This,
we're
this
that's
lake,
fabulous.
and we toured on that lake in a boat last year, which was a lot of fun.
so if people have been following us on social media, they know that we've been on the north shore of Bali, and this is about 2 hours up, 2 hours south, around. We're in the caldera of the Bataan volcano, one of the main volcanoes across the northern
Yeah, there's
Bali.
actually 2 lakes that are a result of volcanic activity a long time ago.
So the weather last year was a little bit better, but these are some pics from last year.
You're wearing the same clothes. Oh.
No, I'm not. Same.
Like,
No, I'm not.
oh, you're wearing my hat.
So, but yeah, we had a great time, and so we came back. And one of the things we're going to do
Yeah.
later today is walk up to even higher, the botanical garden. And this is a little video clip from Rich last year on his little scooter that we're going to rent
These are
later today.
e-bikes. And oh my God, we had so much fun that
Yeah, we're going to
we
go
have to
back.
do this
Yeah,
again. Um, Paul's battery died last year, so hopefully he'll get one that's
yeah,
fully charged. They had to come rescue him. But, we chose this area because as Pacific Northwest people, we like to cool down. And literally, I have not been in layers like this since I was in Japan in like the end of April 2024. And so it feels good.
yeah. So that's where we are right now, but we are going around the world. And
We
it's
are.
funny because we didn't intentionally plan it this way, but the trip's going to start in Bali and well, it starts in Bali, but we're headed for Singapore when we leave here, and we'll return to Singapore in 85 days after we leave on August
Yeah, so
11th.
we leave, yeah, right. We leave on the 11th of August this year.
So we're at the Blue Dot and here in Bali in the Gold Star, and we're headed to From Singapore, we fly through Taipei and then skirt around the northern Pacific Ocean
Ooh, look at this
and
map.
land in Seattle. And then, of course, our hometown of Portland, Oregon, where you are
Northwest Portland.
near. And then we'll be in the United States for about 6 weeks or so. And after our month in Portland, we'll spend some time in the Great Lakes area over here visiting family and friends in the Detroit, Cleveland area. And then,
Yeah, I just have to say I'm really excited because we're going to get to meet grandchild number 2.
yeah,
And she's
Right.
about 5 months old. And little Archie, the big brother, is now 2.5. So we get to go to Portland and bond and take care of business.
right. We have a lot to do,
See
actually.
you.
Yeah, we'll see you, of course, more than
Paul's
once.
celebrating a birthday.
Yeah.
So it's going to
I
be
know,
1
big
month.
birthday.
But
Yeah.
when we leave there, we will fly to Italy. And these are the spots in northern Italy that we're going to do.
And we were there 2 years ago. We were in Europe for 3 months, and you can see all of this stuff at our travel blog, thanks to Paul. And it's at hotelguys.com. But we've been always after Italy, and you give them the teaser alert on the pizza. We just knew that we were going to return. And so we were having a conversation with my baby sister who lives in the flood area, Kerrville, Texas, and people who are in America in particular are aware of the horrible flooding that occurred on July 4th this year. So it's been Wanda's dream to get to Italy, and
So we're taking her.
here we are.
Yeah.
So Wanda is still working in Kerrville. She's involved in recovery, and her wife Dolly is incredible. They were married in 2022.
Yeah.
And so we went back to Texas for their wedding. And again, Wanda's always been dreaming about Italy. And so when she heard we were going, we're like, you want to join us?
So we put together an itinerary, and as the map showed, we are going to start in Florence and then Assisi and then back to Rome because we love it. And then Venice and Milan with a day trip to Turin, and then end with a little rest and relaxation on Lake Como. And this starts in September for about a month.
Like 22nd, I think, isn't it?
So yeah. So yeah, we are.
It's the dream. I mean, I'm so excited to have my baby sister with us. She traveled to Japan when we were there
Yeah.
several years ago.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
Yes.
But here's a little teaser of some of our pictures. Here's the pizza from from the 2 years ago trip.
And that wasn't even the best pizza that we had there, but it looks pretty.
Well, you look pretty.
You're so kind.
So, and here we both look pretty. And of course, the Colosseum
You look,
looks good.
and the Colosseum looks like the Colosseum.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
It
Now,
does.
last time we just looked on the outside. We went to
Yeah.
Rome and didn't plan anything
And
last
both
time.
of us had been there before.
Yeah.
I traveled with high school kids, as you remember.
But we're constructing this trip with we're doing the whole 9 yards. We're doing the Colosseum floor tour and everything.
As my daughter-in-law says, everybody needs a Paul. And literally, this guy, when we were naked at Bali au Naturel, is like, look at this, look what I'm finding. Now we can find restaurants. And should I book us this
So
restaurant?
we've booked a lot of
It's
stuff.
been
And,
really fun.
we went there before in the peak of the summer. It was quite warm, but we wanted to go back on the fall shoulder season. And so that's it. This has been planned for this
Have you
particular.
been to Rome, Nancy?
No,
Do you want to come?
no, actually, I don't want to fly anywhere.
Yeah, I know. Hey, a lot
Yeah,
of people are not. It's kind of weird. So let us
Yeah.
show you a few more
Okay,
pictures of
I
Rome,
had to ask her.
and then we'll come back and talk to you. So that's a typical street scene in Rome from our
Yeah.
trip 2 years ago. And then of course,
Oh.
the Tiber River runs through it. And, we were really impressed with how we didn't see a whole lot of the river, but what we did see was wild,
beautiful.
fresh, and really seemingly well taken care of.
And I remember crossing over the other side, Paul, and having like it's just like super tranquil, fewer tourists, and the food was spectacular.
Yeah, we'll
It's
be in Rome for, yeah, we're
and
not
then there's endless
in the
museums.
interiors of, of course, this is Italy,
I
Italy.
can't get enough.
It's so beautiful.
And this time, we've really booked tours
A lot of
in
museums, stuff
advance.
that we didn't really know we had to do last time, and we were okay with not doing that last time.
Yeah.
But we had such a great time planning nothing. We had such a great time. So I can't imagine with
Yeah.
family and then with this much forethought. But the food, no bad meal in Italy. No bad
No.
ravioli or pizza. And then, of course, the virtuoso. We just happened
This-
on to this guy playing piano at a
This was
concert.
crazy because there was like a live theater performance, and it was like we saw these ladies in particular dressed up and walking somewhere, and Paul's like, let's go check out, see what's going on. And
So we ended up going to this concert.
he
And
got us tickets first for the theater, and then this concert was free for an evening.
yeah.
And we returned after a great meal.
So we have a couple more of
He was good.
music. He was really good. We have a couple more musical things planned on our trip. And of course, tiramisu
Oh,
galore.
Nancy,
So
this was for breakfast 3 times. Mama Teresa,
yeah,
the elder of this hotel, like 3 out of 5 mornings, that was the starter.
which is a little strange, but we never said
That's
no.
very
Rich,
strange.
Rich never said no to tiramisu either.
I mean, we
So
tried it out
No.
once or twice a day
once
in
or
Rome.
twice. How about
Well, but this is a
yeah.
collection, and everyone kind of does it differently.
Well, you do it differently because sometimes you only need one spoon and then sometimes you need two.
Well, I remember this woman, I'm like, she brought us, I went and got up and went to the restroom, and I came back and there's another
Yeah.
serving. And I'm like, Paul, did you order this?
No,
He's
it's
like,
just
no, she wanted you to have more
on the
because she
house.
thinks hers is the
It was
best in
incredible.
Rome.
That was in yeah, that was down south. And of course it's not just
It's so good.
he's not the only handsome man on the street. You do see the occasional
Look at this
dapper
fashion.
Italiano.
I'm gonna up my game on
I know you're
clothing.
gonna have to.
But
So,
I've
but yeah, so that's like a little sneak peek on our upcoming
Rome,
yeah.
Italy.
So what do you think about that, Nancy?
That's just Rome.
Oh, I just think it looks fabulous.
Have you
Just
changed your mind?
absolutely fabulous.
You haven't
No.
changed your mind? No?
No, she doesn't want to travel
Yeah.
anywhere. And it's strange. There's a lot of people that are not traveling. We're the only people in this hotel last night.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true.
Oh,
But
the only people?
yeah,
Wow.
we keep telling people that like only 10% actually come north. And when they do, they'll take a bus up to this lakeshore temple, which is really beautiful. You can see that on our site as well. And, they come in by the buses and then they disappear by nightfall. And seriously, this was a ghost town. Once evening fell and no one showed up at the hotel. So yeah, it's a very different scene down south now.
It's busy.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
there's talk that one day there'll be a brand new airport that they hope to break ground up north. And we look at the roads and we're like, whoa, how are all these people going to navigate the northern region? So it's, our driver the other day said it's like 50-50 about how the locals feel. And he's like, they're going to really have to build roads because this new airport, now has, I guess, $3 billion invested, will bring travelers in. And they estimate that, they'll see upwards to 30 million people, more so than down south, where really the 90% of the tourists hang out and enjoy the beach and party kind of vibe. But for us, up north,
10% up north.
we don't
is
want
where
the
we
airport
go.
to happen.
So yeah, so let's go
We
back
don't.
to the share and
Ooh,
we
what are we gonna
will,
see?
I don't know, I'm gonna see if I can figure it out.
No, don't show her the pizza again.
I'll get rid
Which,
of
we
this.
haven't had pizza in a long time. I'm getting
So
hungry.
when we leave Italy, we're gonna go to Egypt.
Oh,
And
Right.
this also was this will be a return visit from 2 years ago. And
well,
we
just a minute before
go
you
back.
talk about Egypt, Paul.
Okay.
Did you wrap up like, yeah, I guess you said we're going to X, Y, and Z and finishing in Lake Como?
Yeah, X, Y, and Z. We're going to do it.
All right.
So, and when we leave,
just
we'll
feel like-
fly from Milan, and we'll talk more about the Italy trip after we actually do it. But this is just continuing around the world. We're going to concentrate our Egypt trip before we did sort of a grand tour, and we're there for the better part of 2.5 weeks.
Yeah, yeah.
But we're going to just do a week in Cairo and a week in the Luxor area with an overnight in Abydos. And Luxor, of course, includes Karnak and the Valley of the Kings, and there's a lot of things right around Luxor, and take a little time on the Nile, floating in some kind of boat. And
Yeah, so I mean, the grand tour that we did with Dr. Robert Schock was spectacular, and it was, well orchestrated, and it was fast paced, and we saw so much. We learned so much.
but we
And
don't go that fast.
and we
like to
were
slow it
really
down.
hoping that we would be able to see the Grand Egyptian Museum in its full-on opening.
Right, but
And about a week or so ago, we learned that the July 3rd grand celebration opening was not going to happen.
yeah, but it'll be about 80% open as it has been. So we're not too disappointed, but
It'll be, hopefully they're saying late 2025. And, that's been a project with that museum, maybe 24 years in the making.
right. So it'll be a cultural week in Cairo. Don't forget the baklava. And then a week down in Luxor with an overnight, like I said, in Abydos. And then that'll be, our couple of 2 weeks in Egypt. And then we are going to show you some of our beautiful pyramid shots from last year. Of course, it's not just about pyramids. You can see a lot more of our Egypt on our website. But here's some choice shots from the Giza Plateau.
There's just so much.
And this was at sunrise. And
can you imagine having this?
We haven't stopped thinking about this place.
It was life-changing for us, for me. And it just keeps calling me back.
Yeah, it calls us both back, so we're going.
Yeah.
So when we
on
leave,
our pace.
Yeah, when we leave Egypt, then we're on the road again, and we'll fly through the Dubai, which we were a little bit trepidatious about some weeks ago. We hadn't quite bought our ticket yet, and we thought maybe we would fly through Istanbul and try to avoid sort of the Iran-Israeli airspace kind of thing.
How are we doing it, Paul?
We're doing it through Dubai because that's how we roll. So it'll just we were going to do a long weekend in Dubai, but we decided just to do one continuous ticket, and it's just a stop. I think we're there 3 hours.
Is this day 85 yet?
Damn near, because then from there we're on back to our heart spot of Singapore and our 85th day, Nancy.
Yeah.
Wow.
What do you think?
That's just amazing. Well, it's going to be really great to have you back in the United States. I can't wait to have you put your foot into this world that you know nothing about. You have left behind.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know the pallor that permeates everything is so oppressive.
Wow.
And it's going to be really interesting for you to experience this. There's nothing lighthearted about coming to the United States.
Wow.
I know you're telling the truth. I know that we are not acting like we are coming back to what we left. I mean, Rich I was home at the beginning of the year for a couple months. As you know, we celebrated Christmas together.
December.
We had our leftovers at Christmas. That's another story. You remember we were going out for Chinese food and they ran out of chicken or whatever.
Yeah, but I haven't been there.
But Rich has not been there for over a year.
months,
So I think it'll be a little bit more of a shock for him.
Well,
But
no, it will be for you. You weren't here. I mean, you haven't experienced any of this. We now have the president of the United States now has his own private army, which is ICE.
Right.
They have just been they are investing billions of dollars into ICE. This is his personal army.
Yeah.
So
we are now an occupied country.
Explain ICE for people who aren't Americans, Nancy.
So ICE is the law enforcement arm of the whole country, rather than individual law enforcement.
Right,
There is a
immigration and
federal law
customs
enforcement.
enforcement.
And so, and it used to be that's what it was. It no longer is, because they no longer discriminate whether you are an American citizen or whether you are an immigrant. They don't even ask. So
Mm.
you get swept up and you get sent away, and you may or may not ever be seen again. So we are definitely we are Nazi Germany
Uh,
light right now, but we are headed. We know what direction we're headed. The Supreme Court of the United States is backing the king.
Repeatedly.
And yes, and so, we are, no one has any sense that we will ever have an election again. This
wow.
is not going to happen. America has disintegrated.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Just hearing you describe that, I remember when Paul and I arrived in Buenos Aires and they had just elected Milu, the chainsaw toting, I think he was a TV actor, known kind of like Trump was known for not his intellect, but his kind of brawn on the camera.
Yeah, he's an economist,
Mhm.
a
Uh,
wackadoodle, a little bit outside the mainstream, to
and
say
and
the
I
least.
and I remember it was like a couple days, and then it was his inauguration just a few blocks away where we were, and I'm like, should we go check it out? And the tone in the city, Nancy, was so kind of like you describe, kind
Somber.
of, yes, just the seriousness about what is happening. And, of course, their inflation was like just 279%. And, their government has been in shambles for like generations. And it's a
Right.
different story than what we were raised with in America. And so that just reminded me of that sense of, oh my God, what is happening? And
Mhm.
and how do we respond other than get on our phones and be distracted and, Google whatever and watch these movies and just escape? But it
So,
doesn't sound
Well,
like,
there are two fields of thought. One thought is to escape, and I understand that. And then the other school of thought is to be as defiant as you can, just at like talking about this right now.
yeah,
I mean, people are being detained because of memes that they have on their phone.
yeah.
So,
Oh, we will be
talking about this,
disconnecting. We are disconnecting our fingerprint and facial recognition, even though, we've got global entry. And
yeah,
so we usually zoom in. We're going to clear customs in Seattle. But trust me, we're taking I have for years always taken a deep breath when we've come into the United States.
yeah, we're
And
treated like,
we're
what
treated
the hell are you
pretty,
doing here
we're treated pretty well.
as
We've
Americans?
had a little bit of mixed
Well, global entry
experiences,
makes it much easier to flow
but
through.
but yeah, and I
It
would just
does.
add that, yeah, it's
well, Seattle is one thing.
Yeah.
Middle America will be a different thing.
Yeah, I
Texas
know.
is a different thing. We
yeah,
we definitely have bastions, and it only our only question is how long will this last?
Yeah,
Because you can only be defiant so long as a state before where they get you is they cut off federal funds. And none of our states can survive without federal funds. And so
yeah.
we know that it's coming. We just don't know when. We are all just sitting and waiting for the other shoe to drop.
S-
It's a very disturbing place to be right now.
So,
And
well,
so,
I have like a million questions, but how does that impact your work as a port commissioner, Nancy? Um,
well, it's an interesting thing because we try and move, we are trying to pretend
mm,
like we're just doing business as usual because there's no understanding where we sit. Nothing has
yeah,
solidified to the point where we actually know the rules that we are now operating under. So,
okay.
for instance, we operate uh, out of necessity for federal grants. For instance, we have a dock at our port that needs
Mhm.
to be brought up to seismic standards. We have been told by the state of Oregon that we must bring this dock up to seismic standards, which will cost $9 million.
Okay.
We do not have $9 million. We are a little tiny community, lucky enough to have an industrial port, never expecting that we'd be told that we have to do this. So we apply for a grant and we assume, oh, well, the feds will help us get this done.
Right.
And the grant is kicked back, and they said, we're putting a moratorium on this. We don't know what we're going to do. So we're just sitting and waiting. I mean, you can't do business in this atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
You can try and make plans, but nobody is kidding themselves. We have no idea what this world is going to look like.
So this port is located on our fifth largest river, the Columbia River, correct? Is that Scappoose? Is that where the port actually is?
No, it's actually outside of Clatskanie, which is in the northern end of Columbia County.
Okay. Okay.
And it was actually built during World War II.
Ah.
So back in the day, it was all farmland. And then World War II came along. Well, the reason the Army Corps of Engineers came in and took over all the land, and they kicked the farmers off and they built this dock. Well, the reason they built it where they did was that we are in a self-scouring area of the river. I can't even begin to tell you how important that is, because dredging is a huge expense. The silt from the river collects, it has to be dredged. We're in this area where the confluence of currents sweeps away the silt, and we never have to dredge. Well, that's why they built the dock where they did, and they built it to service the Pacific Theater during World War II, shipping munitions out. Well, then once the war was over, then they gave the dock to the county. The county ended up creating a port district, and now here we are.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's an interesting evolution, and we are not Portland. We're not the Port of Portland. Port of Portland has big ships coming in all the time, delivering goods, so on and so forth.
Right.
The only thing we have two commodities. We have PGE, which has a plant on our land.
Electric.
And it's all electric.
Yeah.
And then the other is shipping renewable diesel. So renewable diesel comes in from the Midwest. It comes to a plant on our site. It's offloaded into tanks. Then when they get enough product, a ship comes in, it's offloaded onto the ship, and off it goes. We're very small. We are very, very tiny. But for our community, we're a very important economic driver.
Yeah.
So where are we going in this new world that we're all living in? Nobody knows.
I think
still going to be something that our country is interested in producing? That could be gone tomorrow. We just don't know.
Thank you for that history lesson.
Well, I think that, what we sense from being outside the US and being in different countries, and, it's by design that we come from Asia and that we're going back to Asia. It just feels like that's where we want to be. Not only do we like it, but there is a little less turmoil here. And because there is turmoil all over, there's the amount of turmoil that you're describing that we, even though we're not physically there, we are living it along with you by staying very abreast out of I'm getting a message here that we're running out of time.
I mean, we're watching some podcasts and we're not like 100% involved in our news, but yet we know a lot. And the vibe has been, it's like, what's going on in America? So, just your narrative really helps give really our viewers a perspective of local
context. Yeah. And I mean, we had more than one discussion about how many weeks we really wanted to even be there. But, we love all of our friends and family that are there.
Yeah.
And we have been on a trajectory for me, most of my life, trying to get out of the United States. And but as a way of
Well-
not trying to get away from somewhere, but going towards something.
Yeah.
And so I'm just on that trajectory, and Rich is too. And so we are
Yeah.
very intentionally coming back to Singapore. We've talked about going to South America in next winter, but we're nomads. We don't have a home. We have a house, but we don't have a home there anymore for the time being. And
Yeah.
we didn't really want to be there between 2016 and 2020.
Which we left.
Yeah,
for
but
a
we
good
were
chunk of the
also pursuing our interests, and it was a double-sided thing that we could just be away from the insanity.
time. Yeah.
And I know how doubled down the craziness is. You talk about the instability of not being able to know how to plan for anything as a elected official that you are.
Mhm.
And just this morning, Rich and I were talking about how can businesses in this environment figure out? It seems to me the strategies just work around the American consumer.
Yeah.
We're this big
Yeah.
market, but why would businesses try to rely on rules of the road in order to try to for profits? It's like, just ignore us. And that's why, the plane, the volumes coming into the US, people aren't coming.
Yeah, that's what we're reading is
It'll be interesting. We'll tell you, like, what did we find when
as we
on our
return.
flight?
Yeah.
People are like showing, I'm seeing YouTube videos with people are like there's like rows and rows of empty seats. Nobody wants to go there.
Mhm.
Why would they? For all the reasons that you just described, to get
Well-
rounded up or to be,
Mhm.
be given the second degree. Here you are an EU member, and it's
Mhm.
like, why are you messing with these people?
Right,
Just
and-
let them in. They're going to spend money in New York and Vegas and Orlando and Los
Well,
Angeles.
Vegas is down. I
And
mean,
all
I
those
just-
places, there's nobody going to those places.
Yeah, and
It's down like 30%.
No,
Yeah.
but you see that it's all very prescribed. All you have to do is read Project 2025. This is all very prescribed.
Yeah.
They're willing to go through this short-term pain in order to reconfigure the power of the United States, take it all out of the hands of Congress and put it in the hands of one person.
Yeah.
We currently call them the president, but it won't be for much longer.
Hmm.
We are marching towards dictatorship. There is just no doubt. I mean, you would have to be blind to not see that we are
Mhm.
marching towards dictatorship. And the Supreme Court, he was very strategic in his first administration. He was very successful in putting people on the Supreme Court that would
Right.
back him up, and they are supporting him. So
Yeah.
we do not have due process that we can count on. We do not have the rule of law that we can count on. And it's really hard to wrap your mind around it because we, as people of my age, have always thought the one thing that separates us is the rule of law. We
Mhm.
all believe in
And
the
freedom
rule
of speech.
and not anymore. Not anymore.
Well,
And it is being played out. He only took office on January 20th. You will come back to a completely different country than
Wow.
you left.
Wow.
The short amount of time in which this has all taken place is mind-boggling.
Well,
And this big grand bill that, they all signed off without any real question, any real debate. It's like now this morning I read like all of these real hard-hitting pieces of the Project 25 think tank and what the Republican Party has done now. All of those like big hits are going to occur after the midterm elections. So they're pretending that, oh, there's no impact on you folks. But in reality, the impact has been the top 1%, the big corporate money grabbers that, all stood in line with that president. I call him Felon 47. I don't even like his name. So they're not going to feel the pain, is what I've read.
No, of course not.
Yeah.
This was all done to promote the 1%. In fact, the 0.5%.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
when you start realizing that people who make $15,000 a year are going to pay more taxes than people who make hundreds of millions of dollars a year.
It's
Now,
shocking.
you tell me how you sell this to
Yeah.
a Congress.
You
Yeah.
demagogue.
Demagogue.
You
You
dog
absolutely
it,
demagogue. Yes.
and that's
And the
they.
Republicans were afraid. Lisa Murkowski
Yeah,
had a chance to
she did.
change history,
She's from
and
Alaska.
she sold us down the river.
She did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As did many of those folks.
Well, this may
Yeah,
seem,
but
you know,
she was a powerful one who could have made a difference, and
well,
she didn't.
our experience is that, these issues, we sometimes can look at the United States and think that we see a provincialism because every place kind of is eventually. But what we
Right.
see is that the whole world is still watching what's happening to our country.
They are.
So we're not the only ones that are riveted to the news here.
Or
Everybody,
leaving the country just to escape in order to have kind of a calmer reality to breathe into than
yeah,
what you are sharing about your perspective in America right now. I just hope that when my grandson and granddaughter watch this in their archives and they look at their grandpas and we're long gone, that they say, wow, that Nancy really called it out, or oh my God, somebody stepped in and woke everyone back up.
Well,
I
it isn't going to be one person. It isn't. What
know.
this is showing us, as nothing has ever shown us before, is that we must gather together. We must do this together. We need to have an understanding that we, the people, can take control of this situation because we are the numbers. It's sheer numbers. That's what this is. And it's not ideology. It's about, who do we support? Do we support the people, or do we support the billionaires and the ruling class as it is now? I mean, this is literally life and death, and it will play out in the next 2 years, because if things continue the way they are, there will never be another presidential election in the United States.
yeah. It's really hard to see. I can't imagine the fatigue already after just a few months. We were home for COVID and went through some of the bullshit shenanigans, the day-to-day
Right.
Yeah,
BS
yeah, yeah.
that I can't imagine how difficult it is to be in it for another 3.5
Well,
years,
I want to just say this in wrapping because we're
down to
about
our last minute.
90 seconds,
Yeah.
but on record for my grandson and my granddaughter, it's like we have a choice to come from a place of fear or love.
Mhm.
And this man, we operate out of a place of love. And that's the legacy that America has been tied together with, is in community. We've loved each other, we've supported each other. And what you're saying, Nancy, is that this is like so needed even in so many
Well,
stronger.
nothing else matters. The
Yeah.
only thing that matters is community.
All
We
right.
are here for each other,
Yeah.
because the government is not here for us.
All right. I
And of
look
course it
forward.
never has been.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah. But look forward. Thank you. Thank you for
Yes.
telling us about your 85 days of adventure coming up. And
Thank
can't
you.
wait to see you. It won't be
Yes.
long now.
No, just
Yeah.
about a month or
We
so.
love you,
Yeah, we
Nancy.
love you. Thank you.
I
Love
so look
you.
forward to
Yeah,
giving you a
take
big hug.
care. Bye
All right. All the
Bye-bye.
best.
bye.